Welcome to the Sunday live stream. It is after the holiday, one of them, and some more to come. Took some time off, was with family, recuperated, filmed a bunch of videos that are currently being edited, released some video, and been hanging out on the forum a lot. So, part of the reason I was MIA a little bit was my wife had some major surgery. That went well. She's on the recovery, but I'm still helping out a lot. So, yeah, kind of made sense to be away for a little bit. Worked out that way. Wasn't sure how recovery would go. But here we are today. I live streamed earlier on Patty Aquatics. If you want to watch an extra 2 hours, it's over there. I shared it on the community page. But today we're talking about goals. Not New Year's resolutions. I've kind of, maybe I've graduated from that. I don't know. Maybe I just don't do that anymore. But I want to talk about what are my goals? What am I trying to accomplish in my aquarium hobby in 2025? So I'm going to go to the website because I did a forum post on this a little while ago, and a lot of people have been chiming in, and you can feel free to chime in as well. I also greased the wheels a little bit and made it a giveaway, which means people participate a little more. But I find when you write stuff down, you can go back to it and go, yeah, I was really trying to accomplish that. I should probably keep trying to accomplish that. Adam donating 5 memberships. Thank you so much. I will try to buy some as well. Will let me buy it from here? Nope, it won't. I have to go on the main channel. I still match memberships, even though it's been a few weeks. So I will do that, and we'll jump right into this real quick here. Did I mute myself? Okay, I did. Good. And let's see here. There we go. And there we go. Welcome, new members. New membership content always coming at you. All right, so let's hop over here to the website view. Here we go. Let me get that open. And so this is a post I made on December 17th, a little while ago, about almost 2 weeks. And basically there's a giveaway. If you post some in the United States, I'll send a care package to. I did one a month or two ago, and just send a bunch of goodies and a little bit of swag, stuff you can't normally buy sometimes. So my goals were to stay duckweed free. I've actually got a little bit of duckweed I found in one of my tanks, but overall trying to kind of raise the bar on my tanks and getting rid of duckweed. It's a real downer for me when it's in tanks that I don't want. And so we've been working on the forum kind of devices to help kind of trap that. I'm moving goldfish around, and yeah, I think a lot of people can resonate with that goal of like, yeah, I would prefer to not have that problem. Next, I got some aquarium plants from another hobbyist, and it brought bladderwort into my fish room, which is arguably worse than duckweed. I find duckweed easier to get rid of. Bladderwort attacks little snails and other little things. It's a carnivorous little plant that is aquatic. Pain in the butt. And we removed 90% of it yesterday, Bob and I, so I just got to get the last 10% out. And then when you get to the last like 1%, you battle that for like the next 6 or 8 months. So getting the pests out. So some of it getting stuff out. And then goal number 3 for me is I need more big Anubias. I want to grow them out. I want to attach them to different pieces of decor, whether it's wood or rock, or even fake decoration. I want these modular pieces that I can move from tank to tank and just get them growing better. They're starting to grow better in the tank behind me now that I'm dosing more and more and more. I've got the auto doser going, and I'm working on that even more. But when I reach critical mass at the store or my fish room, it's way easier for me to enjoy tanks of like, well, I'll just take some from here, 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 and here, and I'll do a thing over here. Oh, you're starting up a tank? Here, let me give you some cuttings of Anubias. There you go. Or, oh, I got way too much, I can sell it at the store. All of those are fun for me. And so that's one of my big goals. I've already, I would say my 2024 goal was kind of Java Fern, and I've got it everywhere, and it's kind of doing pretty good. So I feel like I'm accomplishing that one. I got a few days left, obviously, but I feel like I am accomplishing that one. And the next one, number 4, is get the 800 gallon looking good to me. It does not look good to me. It probably doesn't look good to you either. And so we worked on that yesterday. And I think, one, I've been working on lighting. I can get the water clear. I can make a lot of things happen. But lighting was just off. And so I'm trying elevating the lights. That seems to not do much. I've added more light. That seems to help. I'm trying to spread out the light more. I bought some other types of lights. They nearly blew up and was a bad time, so those aren't going to work. So I'm back to my own aquarium co-op light again, and I think I've got it working kind of how I'm going to want it. And I think what we discovered yesterday is, one, I want the plants to grow. So that's kind of being a pain in the butt. We've got the auto doser going. It's getting plenty of par. I'm not exactly sure why they're not taking off the way I want. So that's still to figure out. But the fish, as much as I love Congo tetras, I think the problem is we have a sea of brown. Brown gravel, brown background, the surround, like the stand, brown burlap, and then the wall is brown. And so these Congo tetras don't pop against the brown background or the brown substrate. And when you put them in a black background, they look really good. Well, the 800 gallon's not a black background because we have the custom background. So I think those guys got to come out. Majority probably get sold to the store. And maybe I put some in this tank behind me because it's got a black background. And right now, what I put in there, I got a crazy mix of fish that the fish police would definitely murder me over. I've got the clown loaches. I've got the Congo tetras. There's the one African cichlid baby that's still in there. And now there is like 4 Shabunkin goldfish. And boy, do they look awesome. And so right now, the leading change is probably tetras and clown loaches out, with some other stuff out. Shabunkins in. It's partly a size thing. It's partly a color thing. They look great against those browns. And I've had them living, and I bred them in the 40 breeder. And so I've got dad and a baby. And then I added a couple others. But they've been doing really well with my planted tanks also, which it could all go to crap in a year or something when they get big enough and they pull plants. But again, back to what am I enjoying, and I want to see, I like Shabunkins. I've been just living in that 40 going, I don't want to get rid of them, but I also have been doing this like, well, I don't want to set up another tank for them. And knowing that I've got my African cichlid tank, and I've got this tank behind me, and the 800 gallon is my bigger show tanks, I just kept, and I was like, why not just put them in the 800 gallon and get a few more? Like, they'll love 800 gallons, and it's a good use of that big tank, big fish, big tank. So that's what I'm going to try for a while and see how I like it. And if I don't like it, I'll swap it up. I'll figure out what I like and what I settle on. Because I do like tiger barb, clown loach tank, but I also know I'll probably get bored of it in a year again. I'm like, yeah, I did that for a few years. So again, goal, make sure I like it. That's my goal right now. And then the 5th goal is I've been having a ton of fun running. Well, not running. I mean, I guess we're designing 3D printed parts for aquariums on the forum. And let's see, I can actually probably bring us there. If I scroll way down here, 3D printing. And we're working on this 3D aquarium polisher, which I actually have. I have parts and things, like I could probably show you guys right now, basically. But basically, you know, you got filter socks. Well, hold on. Let me get to the right. Let me get to the right screen. You've got this, which will go on the side of your aquarium. And you've got filter socks, which polish your water. That'll slide in there. And it gets held. And you attach to your aquarium here, which that piece I don't have sitting here at the moment. But then you have our power head that plugs right into here. So not even tubing needed, just goes right on. And sits in there like that. Polish your water anyone you want. So that's been a very fun build. Not final form, but totally usable form. We've got them being used in Bob's fish room, my fish room. Definitely been playing with it and doing really well. So yeah, maybe design a duckweed mower. We have it. I officially call it the duckweeder. And do I have parts for it? I do. I'll show you some preliminary designs. It's got some work to go. So we've been working through all of these versions behind the scenes, right? There's all these different versions for the duck weeder. The first version was basically this. You hook the power head, right? You hook the power head right here. Water gets pumped up into this basket. And then you could set the level of the water. So this has a little clippy thing that lets you set the water so it just skims the top and pulls in the duckweed. And the intake of the power head is down here. So it's sucking water in, pushing it out here. And then on the inside of this, which you haven't seen yet, it had a basket system to collect the duckweed, right? That was attempt number 1. And it kind of works. Then we go, hey, how do we make this better? So then we go to version number 2. And here's version number 2. Again, hooks to the intake, which I should really have a power head to show this. That's bad planning on my part. But hooks the intake. This now has a floating weir, kind of like you'd see in a pond. This will float to the water level. So you don't have to adjust it anymore. It just floats to wherever the water level is. And when you suck water through, it'll bring this down enough to let the duckweed. If you turn the power off, this floats up and closes it. And all this duckweed, the bulk of it, gets caught here. It keeps your shrimp and stuff out. And then, in case they were really small, goes to the next level, right here, this little screen. And then you would eventually put it into a polisher. So, not ready for prime time yet. This is not a thing we're building, by the way. We're not going to produce these. You would have to have a friend with a 3D printer or a library or whatever. But my goal is to do a project like these types of things once every 3 months. And there's a bunch of people on the forum helping out, testing, or helping design. And it's pretty sweet. And I think if we keep crowdsourcing these types of things, it won't make sense probably ever to mass produce them and sell the duckweeder. But it probably makes a lot of sense for someone to go, hey, I could print that, or my friend could print that. And yeah, and all those things exist on the forum, by the way. So if you're like, how do I do? Don't email customer service, go to the forum. That's where it's happening. It's happening on the forum. You get the files to print them on the forum. And so let me take you back to the forum now that I'm done showing that. And you can see here, we started laying out pieces, right? And so you start basically just working on dimensions. There's all these people helping out, by the way, and they're going, hey, have you ever seen a thing like this? Hey, have you ever seen a thing like this? And we just keep going back and forth, and it's like, why not just put a filter sock on the outlet of a power head? And like, you're not wrong. I want something I can move from tank to tank to tank at the store, though. And so, like, here's another kind of version of just what people are doing. And then here's, like, me trying to explain, like, here's how I think it could work. And then here's another concept someone's come up with. And you start seeing, like, okay, so yeah, we got a filter sock, we got the power head. And, as these people all kind of skip forward here, you start seeing some actual kind of, we made a dummy. This is a replica of the power head that doesn't work in case someone didn't have one. So I printed one of those. This is another concept. Here was one that was going to be like a screw-on version. And, here's some people's 3D printing setups. And yeah, okay, so this is Jason, his design. You kind of start seeing like, oh, that's the version you were showing. And here's like a version 2. We're on like version 6 now. So we're definitely making changes and improvements, less rattling, more flow, less this, less that, easier to use. And you could be a part of all of this. This could be, this is how you print it. Here's different pieces. Here's, you have to account for, is it a 10 gallon? Is it a 40 gallon? Is it a 125 gallon? We've got versions that'll do my 800 gallon at this point. But they're not all super polished. Here's like, this is where the duck weeder started. It's actually, if you didn't want to use a filter sock, you could fill it with quilt batting. So you could just fill it with floss. And, here's the links to download that and start printing these parts. And then you kind of see like, oh, that one didn't print very well on that printer bed, so we talk about troubleshooting that. Here's a whole different design that's pretty cool. And we just keep going back and forth. And here's, talking about some other little structural things, trying to make it easier to use. And you can still see here, like, this was like one of the first versions where you don't have to use tubing anymore, like I did on the first version. And you start seeing, like, yeah, different baskets. So one thing, you could turn this into a filter of like, oh, I put bio rings and sponges and Purigen and all of those into that kind of a modular system. But there's other projects as well. So if we go, back to the 3D printing thing here on the forum, we're talking about 3D printers but here's other links to stuff. Like, let's say you want to hang a brine shrimp hatcher. Let's let it load here. This fits the Zis brine shrimp hatcher. So that you put 2 screws, now it holds really well, mounting it to a wall, right? Kind of cool. Let's see here. This, you can make your own little brine shrimp hatchery thing where you're just hatching out small amounts. Kind of cool. But more stuff like that. Huh. What is this? Get out of there. It's showing a thing on... I had ads. Dang you. All right. Anyway, 3D printer is super cool. I'm into it. But I don't think everyone has to rush out and spend a bunch of money. I think you can ask around and people will print. And I think people will, on the forum, be like, hey, you paid $15, I'll ship one to you. Like, that's the cost of shipping, basically. But my goal is to take a new concept, a new idea, and get everybody working on it, because one person has one idea. You get 5 people with 5 different ideas and you test them, you get a better hybrid idea, and then that's pretty good for us as hobbyists. So that's kind of my goals for 2025. Yes, I've got to do my own work, like designing products and stuff, but this is a side hobbyist project goal of like, this stuff is to remain free. My ultimate goal with that is to keep it all free. If we ever make something, like, there'll still be the free version. Someone's asking if you can 3D print off your phone. Yeah, with my printer, I can literally print from my phone. So that's pretty sweet. But not all of them can do that. But yeah, some of the higher end ones, just straight from your phone, from an app, pretty easy. And I've been learning skills on how to model, which is good for my workflow anyway, of like, hey, I need to make a part for an aquarium. I could 3D print it, then we could have it made, all of that. So there was a question from earlier. Oh, I had goal number 6 that I just added like today. I want to document more things that I love for you guys. Now, what does that mean? So let me put the disclaimer. Corey, you're going to make money from it. You only talk to us to make money. Okay, let's put that aside. And, like, for instance, I still use this every day. This thermos can thingy that doesn't have the screw top. Love it. Tested a bunch of them. This is my favorite one. But I basically mentioned that to you guys once, and I never mentioned it again. Now it's a list. You guys go, oh, what are some of Corey's favorite products? This thing's $12. And if you buy one, I'll make like 20 cents. Not doing it for the 20 cents, doing it so that you guys can find different cool things, which would be like my favorite USB cord from a guy that's got to travel a lot. Actually, I don't even think I have this one on the list yet. I have certain ones, but like this one is a very versatile one, right? So you're going, oh man, if you have to travel a lot, it gets down to this, and it has Type-C and USB. And on this side, it has Lightning and Type-C. It can also do up to 60 watts. So you have that in your little backpack or whatever you're doing. It can basically handle everything you run into. And if you're on a plane or wherever, you just zoop, and you're plugged in, and you're doing whatever you got to do. Boom, back, small, fits in a purse, a backpack, that kind of stuff. And I had to go through like 15 different versions of these types of things over the years to find the best one. And I used to have one that had like a little dongle on each side and it could do them all. And then as you want faster charging, and then like as you don't really use micro USB anymore, I find the best ones. And then I usually just share them with people in my company of like, hey, I know you travel a lot like I do. These are awesome. And they're like $15. But now I'm just putting them in that list so that you could find it. So that 9 months from today when you're traveling, you're like, oh, my cord broke. Hey, there was one that was pretty good. You might get that, right? And the only reason I have this one specifically here is because I have my stupid AirPods that still have a lightning cable, which is irritating. But I have to be able to do both. And like I need to charge my keyboard sometimes, and that's Type C. So I need a cable that's multiversed and can do all these things. But anyway, my goal is to document more of that and show you guys, like, you don't know that you need one yet until you get too many crumbs in your keyboard. But like this little blower is awesome. It's not on my list. I don't even remember how much I paid for it, but it can work as like a vacuum, which I don't need. Or can I make it do it? How do I do it? I gotta hold it? Yeah. Yeah, this thing. Yeah. I clean all kinds of computer parts and keyboards and other little things with this that just seems to be awesome. So the stuff that I find, it's also a little flashlight. The stuff that I find that doesn't get to like, no one needs that crap. That was a bad buy. I'll share with you guys. And so that's my goal, is to document that. People have asked, like, why not do it on a blog, or why not do these other things? Because it's a lot of work. This is real easy. I'm already probably buying it on Amazon. I click one more button, it puts it on the list that says, hey, Corey of Aquarium Co-op buys this crap. And then by me putting on the list, it means it passed my testing phase of like, yeah, this thing's awesome. So, yeah. But there's, if you were into those, like those blowers, there's people on YouTube that will review 40 of them and give you the best one. Like, I'm more of a point and shoot. I need a problem, or I got a problem, I got to fill it. What worked out really well, that failed, this one worked well, share it with you guys. So I'm trying to do that. Where's the list? The list is in the description of this video and maybe other videos. I shared it on my personal Facebook just for my friends, basically, or people following me. I don't want to spam it too hard because people are going to be like, bro, you're just trying to make money. It's like, yes, but I'm also trying to save you money. Like there's a $700 or $800 vacuum on there, the Eufy. Like, I literally own a Roomba, and then I bought the $300 or $400 one, and that one kind of sucked. And then I bought the $800 one, and it's awesome. So I'm saving you like $800 of research, only if you ever needed that. I did a lot. I watched way too many Vacuum Wars videos for too many days. My wife can attest to it. Before I pulled the trigger on the first one, which was wrong, and the second one, which was amazing. So if I can save you guys that, and I treat it like my own products. I got to believe in it. I'm not doing it like, I'm not just gonna be like, well, let me list my iPhone. Let me list all the expensive things. Like, whether you're an Android or an iPhone person, that doesn't matter anymore. Like, I got away from that years ago. We're like, list your camera equipment. Like, no, I want to list like, hey, this thing's $4 and amazing, and you're like, oh, I would buy that. So, let's see. Now I want to answer the question that came up earlier in chat, because we always chat for like an hour. People are talking about their goals, and then someone hit me with a question. I didn't write their name down, so I apologize. I also owe some membership matching. Let me do that real quick. I think it's 6 of them. If I'm dramatically wrong, if I'm wrong by a lot, let me know. But I think it's 6. And thank you. I think it was Stephen P, and another person that I can't scroll up enough, and that sucks because now it makes it look like I don't appreciate it, which I do. I just forgot the name and it won't let me look it up. So another good example of that list, like, I actually learned after using Hoka's, the shoes that people also like, that I was running into a problem where like my pinky toe was a little bit pinched, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just not quite right. Turns out the bottom of the shoe isn't a 4E wide, only the top part is. So then I switched to New Balance, which is a bottom 4E and a top 4E. They've got all that extra cushion. I love them. But how do you convey that information without doing like, oh yeah, let me do live streams about my shoes? Doesn't make sense. So I'm just updating that list of like, here's my go-to. It also has my favorite flip-flops, which I'm rocking right now because I go by flip-flop retirement on Instagram. But these bad boys, these reefs, like look how much cushion there is in this bad boy. These things are like walking on a cloud. And you can tell, like I'm actually using these things. We're like that. Those are steps. That's worn in. This isn't just Corey will shill anything. Like I wear these things a lot in the fish room. If I go to Hawaii, if I go anywhere, they've been in ponds, all that kind of stuff, and they're just clearly a step better. And if you're into looking for that, awesome. I could save you some time. All right. So the question is. Hey Corey, I was curious if your perspective on products have changed any from being someone who had used them and reviewed other companies' products to making them and using your own. Yes, my views have changed. In general, I would say I'm a little more understanding where people will want a thing to exist, and oftentimes, if you don't think about how would you make it happen, you don't realize that it's kind of impossible. I'm going to use an example here. A battery backup for a aquarium heater, right? Everyone goes, yeah, that's what we need. But when you start looking at like, okay, well, how much energy does a aquarium heater need? And you go, well, it uses 100 watts. And like, well, it would turn on and off. But it wouldn't if your building wasn't heated, right? So power's off, you're heating it, it would just be pegged on. How big of a battery would you need to run that for 2 or 3 days? And what you're going to learn is that's a battery that costs $1,500, $2,000. How many aquariums do you have? And so it becomes one of these just almost impossible scenarios to solve for. And so knowing that I now think about like, okay, here's the thing I don't like about a product. Is there a logical way for me to solve that? And if I can't come up with one, I go, oh, well, I understand why that probably doesn't exist now yet. Someone's got to be smarter and figure it out. But when I design my own products, half the time I do move forward and it's like, oh, I think I found a better way. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's try it. And sometimes you pay a lot of money for prototypes and it doesn't work, and that sucks. And sometimes you go, yeah, it turns out idea was sound. Okay. And so, yeah, I do have a different opinion. I wouldn't say it's just like, oh, people are getting a pass. I actually think the more I work with companies and like manufacturers, the more it's like, this should be pretty easy to solve. You guys just aren't. And it's because you have to, like, it's a big pain in the butt to update packaging and manuals and the website and the physical, like, even just changing, like, I'm still working on all these different lengths of air pump nozzles. Like, and I'm weeks into this. Like, it's not all consuming. It's not like I spent 40 hours a week, but let's say I spend 1 hour a week for the past 6 or 7 weeks printing and talking about, here's a couple more versions, right? Nozzles. This one's got barbs on it. This one doesn't. We're talking about length. And here's the thing. It won't sell anymore. It'll make the product better, but it won't sell anymore. So I understand why businesses wouldn't necessarily do it, but I also understand that if you want to stay towards the top of a pack of any type of product, make it better. Like, when you identify something's wrong, try to fix it. And a million things are wrong with our products all day long, and we try to fix them. We don't always have an answer to fix them, but we try to fix them. Of like, we didn't think people were going to use it that way. How could we make sure they can't use it that way? That's not intended. And so then you go, okay, let's see what we can do. And that's where I've gotten to with that whole thing. So, a gifted membership from Andrew Tracy. Been a member for 4 years. It's a long time. It's kind of crazier that we've had memberships for that long. It's crazier that I've been doing this for I think it's Are we at 10 years? Is it 7 years? Where are we at? I'm going to look at my own videos now. I want to see what the oldest videos say. I'm going to sort by oldest. 11 years. So the first video when we were building Aquarium Co-op was 11 years ago. Oof. Time has not been friendly. I am pretty gray now. I've got some decapsulated baby brine shrimp. Was told you can hatch them, but it says on the bottle non-hatching. I'm a little confused. Any input? Yeah, so think of it this way. Let's say you have a baby brine, or you have a brine shrimp egg, and inside you have a viable brine shrimp that could be hatched out, right? If you hatch it the normal way, the egg will kind of dissolve or crack open and it will hatch. Now, you can basically use chlorine to dissolve the egg, the outside part, the egg shell, I guess. That's the word I was looking for, the shell. But you can have brine shrimp eggs that aren't viable. So maybe they never got fertilized or whatever process. I don't even know what process they go through, honestly. But they're just not viable. Maybe they got way too cold or way too hot, like whatever it was. They got wet, they got absorbed oxygen, they started to hatch and then didn't. But you can have decapsulated brine shrimp eggs, which means you take them out of the capsule or we get rid of the shell, right? And you could feed them. So maybe here's a better example. You got a chicken egg. If the chicken sits on it, hatches out, you got a baby chicken. That's a baby brine shrimp. If you get rid of the egg shell, on the inside, you still have an egg, but it no longer is viable. And I realize there's some crazy research out there that I've seen where they actually remove the egg shell and still hatch out so they can watch it. So barring that crazy thing that's an outlier, that's what decapsulated brine shrimp is. Let's get rid of the egg shell. And it's meant to actually just be fed, is what it's meant to be. Just feed it as it is. But there is also a process where you can get rid of the shell by dissolving it and still hatch them out. What you will typically find is a decapsulated brine shrimp egg that is viable hatches out like 6 hours faster. So no one really goes through that effort to do that because you just wait 6 more hours and it takes work to decapsulate. So, longtime follower from Sweden here. Finally lucky enough to hit a live stream. Good fish day here. Getting a colony of heritage maculatus guppies from the 1916 Copenhagen. That's kind of cool. I'm drinking. See, I showed this off. I'm drinking it backwards. That's a fun strain to keep around. They're not the most pretty things half the time, but it's part of history, which is cool. Still loving the membership. Glad to hear it. Still working on kind of trying to do some more stuff for memberships. End of the year, there's taxes. We're doing inventory and crap. It's all the non-fun stuff of business, really. But still on the radar to hopefully get some stuff done. Let's see here. Got to match some memberships. My goal is that hopefully you guys will watch all the past presentations, fall in love with it, and then keep paying. That's my ultimate scam I'm running. I'm hoping to give you guys such a good time that you will continue to pay $5. That's my scam. Do I have any tips for treating Epistylus? Yes, I typically use an antibiotic or salt, and I've got a video that I had it over here actually about a month and a half ago. I took a video of it, and I just treated it with a little bit of salt. Went away in about 3 or 4 days. And pretty easy to get rid of, in my opinion. Just slow and steady. Don't freak out. And the sooner you catch it, the sooner you can get rid of it. My goal, one of my goals, like my professional goals, I'm actually changing what I'm doing on YouTube. Like the 60 days to a seasoned aquarium was an epic failure as far as YouTube's concerned. Like it is 10 out of 10. Don't make those videos anymore, you fool. But my professional goal is to double down on education and distance myself or the company or whatever even more from sensationalism, clickbait stuff, and just stuff that we don't need more of. And what does that mean, Corey? That means like if every month 30 videos of fish room tours come out, do we need 60 of them? Probably not. And what I'm seeing is, because YouTube or viewers, whatever you want to call it, because the path to making a career out of YouTube is you have to have the viewers, which have to watch the video, which have to watch the ads, which I'm taking steps to go against all of that, of not putting ads in the middle of the videos at all or the live streams, and hoping that you guys will support us by buying products. I want to do a lot more education, but I need to set some of the groundwork. So you're going to be like, man, a lot of these videos early in 2025 are about setting up aquariums. And it's like, well, I need references to go deeper into these subjects. So like we've got the 60 days to a seasoned aquarium. We'll have one coming out about setting up specifically live bear / guppy tanks. One specifically about setting up shrimp tanks. And they reference like, yeah, you can do this from that series, the 60 days to a seasoned aquarium. But then if we want to get some deeper knowledge going, we need to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page. Like, hey, we know we're setting up the seasoned aquarium, and that's why we're also seeing this part now. And basically what YouTube is doing right now is a tour from a year ago won't get shown. An unboxing video just won't get shown. A live stream won't get shown. And but things that are searchable do. So if it's like, oh, how do I set up a tank for mud skippers? Like, people are looking for that every day. But they're not necessarily looking for, a live stream I did. Bring back the daily dose. Yeah, YouTube is not allowing that right now. I mean, they physically allow it, but it would be useless to almost everybody involved currently. So we need that to kind of shift, and then maybe that, but more education. So it'll be way less entertaining in terms of sensationalism, but that's where I want to take us. I want to take us towards, because I think the majority of YouTubers, they're going where the money is, myself included. I get paid to do this, but I've always tried to, when people are zigging, I try to zag. So when it was everybody does 7-minute videos, I was doing hour-long videos. Now the meta is like everyone do 1 to 2 hour videos. I'm trying to do shorter videos because I just don't want to be mixed in with everything. And honestly, there's so many fish YouTubers and everything right now that, like, there's a million fish rooms every month. There's a million videos on what new fish came in, what I'm adding to my aquarium, what am I doing. And I've done lots of that stuff. And I'm ready to focus on stuff that I haven't covered super well. And that would be like species profiles, setting up aquariums, more plant stuff, more, understanding just aquarium water in general and all of that. So the videos that you'll find useful will be, oh, that was really good. And there's going to be stuff like, I don't care about that subject, and I get it. But after you make 1,000 or 2 videos, you got to switch it up a little bit to stay entertained. So we're switching it up a little bit. Let's see. There it is. I bought a linear air piston pump, and it's arriving tomorrow. However, I'm using it for 16 aquariums with 25 hose outlets in my PVC. Will I have to bleed some off, or should I be okay? If you're using 25 outlets, I think you'll be fine. I don't think you got to worry about that. What are some of my favorite catfish to breed other than plecos and cories? I'm considering whiptails and Synodontis petricola. I don't think I've bred too many besides plecos and corydoras. There are other catfish, I just haven't really bred them. Ones that I'd be looking for, the Tanganykan black oil cat, super dope. Petricolas are definitely worthwhile, and I have a fun breeding experience. Same with multipunctatus. They're a parasitic mouth brooder, so that's cool, fun. Trying to think of other ones that I don't think I've really done other ones. I just do bottom dwellers, like desert gobies are worth breeding. They're fun. They're not really marketable or anything, and they're not a catfish, but being kind of the bottom dweller, they kind of have that catfish vibe. I know I've seen some people over the years breed some of the haplocats. Some of the flaketail haplocats would be real fun to breed. I don't know how long that would take to actually pull off, but yeah, do what's fun for you is what I'd be doing. More videos of you throwing your products across the room like your light. See, I'm trying to get away from that, which probably doesn't seem like that, but it's wearing on me too much to promote my own products. That's basically what it comes down to, is knowing that you give up. Like I've done 2 live streams today, 2-hour live streams on a Sunday. My family, like, yes, it's work, but my family gives this time up so that I can do my job. And then if it's like, hey, that was just an infomercial, and even when I poke fun at myself, like one time I named the live stream Aquarium Co-op like infomercial, and people are like, yeah, this is just an infomercial, it's dumb. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I gotta announce new products, guys. I don't know. Like, I tried to make it fun. I made fun of myself. Like, and so by trying to just educate people, it's a little bit easier. I don't have to tell you, like, hey, you should buy this thing. Like, you should be able to kind of figure out what you want to do instead of me telling you to buy it. And I do have to announce new products. That is my job, but it's not fun to get bad feedback, and so I'm just going to try to avoid doing things that would cause that. I like selling my crap. So, in terms of actually me being a salesman, I'm doing a bad job. I usually go through the whole live stream. I say a couple things, and I say, hey, don't forget to buy all my crap. And a true grifter, I could sell 50 times as much for selling right now, but I am a hobbyist, and I am trying to develop meaningful relationships with you guys over 10, 20 years. That doesn't always have to be about money. Like, should have never shown you how to make water polishers and stuff for free with a 3D printer, except I think it's cool and meaningful to the hobby. So I don't make any money from that. I just think it's cool. And I'm using the resources, whether it's membership, a forum. Like, the forum costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars every month to run. We have paid employees doing the moderation. We have software packages. We have all these things. All of this goes into that so that it can still also make free things. So it's, even though, like, yeah, you got to buy a thing to keep us employed, we also try to give back in some way. Like, if you haven't, one of the best resources, in my opinion, on the internet to pufferfish breeding would be Mountaintop Puffer Keeper's blog about breeding different puffers. Great community resource. He's doing all the work. We're just providing the platform. It's kind of amazing to follow, honestly. Let's see. My question might not have made sense. Can you explain what TDS is, and if I'm changing water monthly but doing my top-ups with hard water in the winter, do I need to worry about TDS? So I've got a whole video on how TDS is just BS. TDS BS. I should probably make that a thing. Hashtag TDS BS. I'm going to break this down into easy terms, not scientific terms. So when the comment section comes for me, I preface this with, this is not the technical version. TDS, simply put, is a measurement of kind of all the things in your water. If you have dechlorinator, it's showing up. If you have salt, it's showing up. If you have fertilizer, it's showing up. All of these things, if you have minerals in your water, it's showing up, and it's going to give you a number. Let's say you tested your tap water and your number is 50, right? All right, so we've established a baseline. It's a number. Your next question usually is, what does that number mean? And that's the problem. It doesn't really mean anything. Why not? Well, because the number's 50. So let me say, I'm going to tell you, Lisa's asking the question. I'm going to say, Lisa, your number is 50. And you go, what does that mean? Is that dollars? It could be. Oh, you go, oh, $50, nice. Could also be tacos. You have 50 tacos. Could also be flat tires. You have 50 flat tires. Could be anything. And so your next question is, well, what is it? And that's the problem, is no one can really identify what it is. It's anything. You have to use other tests to figure out what it is. Now, in your specific situation, you're asking about changing water and topping off. So you've got 50 of something in your water, or whatever your number is out of the tap. When water evaporates out, it leaves everything. So what does that mean? If you have a glass of water that's this tall and has 50 TDS, now it evaporates down to here, you still have 50 TDS. It might actually go up because there's less water, but what I'm trying to say is the salts and stuff like that, they don't magically fly out of the aquarium. Now, technically, you could have plants strip some of that out. So there's all these little caveats. But in your question, asking, you've got water and you're topping off. Well, if only pure water is evaporating and you're putting more in, so if I add 50 and now my glass of water is half down and I put more in, I'm going to have more TDS. The last part of your question was, is that bad? And the answer is, no one knows because we don't know what's in the water. Are you sad to have $75 instead of 50? No, you're happy. Are you sad to have 75 flat tires instead of 50? Yeah, you're sad. And so until you test your water and go, what people want it to do, they want to know how many minerals are in your water. The problem is it does everything, not just minerals. And so if we reframe this question and go, not TDS, let's look at hardness. And that hardness tests calcium with magnesium in your water. It doesn't tell you how much of each, just those two combined. So if you put that strip in, you go, hey, I have 100 hardness, and your water evaporates and you put more water in, likely your hardness will go up. And if you do that for a very long time without taking water out, that could lead to very, very, very hard water. It might etch your glass. It might be bad for your fish or plants, those types of things. So, getting to the end of TDSBS, here's what I recommend you do. Try to change your water at least once a month. So even if you're topping it off 1 out of 4 times, if you're doing it every week, try to change some of the water to keep it from building up way too much. That's pretty much how you're going to avoid TDSBS. There you go. That's what I hate about it, is it takes so long to basically explain that it does nothing, but some people claim that it does good things, which without all of the context, it means nothing. So like, oh man, did you hear? Candy's got 112. And then you walk out of the room. Everyone's going, well, 112 of what? What does she have 112 of? That's what TDS is. It's a number with no context. It's completely useless until you start giving it context. And by the time you start giving it context, you didn't need the TDS meter. So, it's a bummer. Let's see. How does airflow affect SF performance? What is SF? My brain's not catching up. SF performance. I don't know what that means. Total dissolved stuff. That is a better description than total dissolved solids. Yeah. We've gone down the rabbit hole. Yep. What bigger fish can go with cardinal tetras, corydoras, and blue gouramis? I find that juraparis do well. They get to be about a 10-inch fish, and they don't really see them as food most often. Other big fish, if they're full grown, like your tetras, sometimes angelfish, sometimes like pearl gouramis. Tank size is going to matter a lot on this one. Basically things that don't see small fish as food, which most fish would. So you gotta, like hillstream loaches could go with them. Oh wait, did you say big fish though? Where'd that go? I don't know where it went. I don't know if you were specifically looking for big fish. I can't remember anymore. Sponge filter performance. All right, I'm gonna lay down the law right now. Acronyms that no one else uses only confuse people. As a guy that lives, eats, and breathes aquatics, I have never seen it shortened. I just might be in the wrong circles, but man, I was not going to guess sponge filter, which I realize YouTube only gives you so many characters. So the original question was, how much does airflow affect sponge filter performance? Okay. Mechanically, very important. So what does that mean? That means filtering out physical particles out of the water. The airflow, very important. Lots of flow that's efficient, lots of suction. Low flow, not a lot of suction. However, when it comes to beneficial bacteria or chemical filtration, like processing ammonia and stuff, it doesn't matter as much because whether the water goes through it once every hour or once every 4 hours doesn't really matter because water moving slow has more dwell time, which means it cleans the water more chemically, where physical debris needs to go through a bunch, and the more you do it, the cleaner it's going to get. So I think that answer depends on which one you're aiming for. You could argue that slower flow is better, like on a cancer filter and stuff. Slower flow is better if you're trying for chemical filtration, or biological filtration is a better way to say it. Whereas mechanical filtration, more is better. So just depends on which, and each filter, they can do both, but sometimes you have them separated. Like, oh, this one's easy to clean, so I'll be mechanical. And this one is a pain in the butt. It's a cancer filter. I'll have it be biological. My goldfish tank is dealing with Epistylus right now, and I have heard that's easier to treat in cooler water. Is that true? I don't know. I don't go out of my way to A/B test hot versus cold water. I don't change water temperatures in my aquariums. I keep them at the temp they're going to be. Goldfish, though, hardy fish, if you don't have live plants, salt's going to make it real easy. The only thing that I would tell you is make sure that you're not mistaking Epistylus for breeding stars like on male goldfish. And you might be like, yeah, I know all about that. So, if that's the case, then yeah, you might have Epistylus, but don't chase treating Epistylus that might actually be just breeding stars. So if it's all these white spots on the gill plates, that's just what male goldfish get when they're breeding. So make sure it's not that. If it's like, oh, it's all over the body, definitely could be Epistylus. Salt would be real easy. Goldfish tend to be very salt tolerant, like crazy amount so. But if you got live plants, then maybe go with an antibiotic and try to work it that way. But even then, I usually do a little bit of salt too. That's one of my things I do want to test. I kind of want to set up a tank or a couple tanks and get the same plant, like maybe, or same plants. I kind of want to know, here's what I feel like. I feel like with millions and millions and millions of aquarists around the world, and years and years and years and years and years of keeping plants, how do we not know how much salt plants can handle? Like, what I mean by that is, can you tell me how many parts per million or how much salinity Anubias can handle versus microsword versus Amazon sword versus hornwort versus guppy grass? I certainly could not. And so I basically, I basically go, well, let's not do more than like 1 tablespoon per 5 because I haven't really heard anybody ever have problems with that. But this would be a super duper useful time where, oh, I only have Java fern and Anubias and my goldfish have Epistylus. Oh, we know that Anubias can handle a tablespoon per gallon and Java fern could handle a tablespoon per 2 gallons. Therefore, you could dose a tablespoon per 2 gallons. And that would be amazing to know. But that collective knowledge, I feel like, does not exist. I have not seen it yet. And I think we could figure that out. I could do a little bit of testing. And then we could ask, like, okay, I think it handles this. Try it at your house. Did it kill it? Didn't kill it. Okay, I think we're safe. And I think that'd be super duper useful, especially with all the countries that can't use meds. And so I think that's a project that as a community we could really start working on. And I think it would pay dividends for all of us. You might be like, well, I don't need salt right now, but imagine in 2 years if you knew exactly what salt treats and what plants handle what level of salt and you were confident about that. Boy, would that be useful. Who's going to sacrifice their plants salt testing? I'll donate all of them. If someone will do the work, I'll donate plants all day long. I have a warehouse with, tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars of plants. I can do that. We just need someone that really like, okay, we've got an A/B testing. I'm willing to see it through. It's real easy. I've done this before. People get bored. Like, but we've been doing it for 4 months. Like, oh yeah, this is a long-term thing. And then like we got to introduce fish to it. But I also think what makes it easiest is if you're growing something yourself. So let's say you got a bunch of guppy grass. Split it into 4 10-gallon tanks. And then keep one as a control. Like, don't kill it. Just let it be what it is. Gets fertilizer. And then each other tank gets the same amount of fertilizer. This one gets 1 tablespoon per 5. This one gets 2 tablespoons per 5. This one gets 3 tablespoons per 5. And just try those things out. So, Eric Wyrock, a literal salty rant. That's right. Apparently right now we're playing Guess the Reason Why Corey's got his lights on those things. I'm trying to see if I like it better. That's really what it is. I've elevated it to see the spread because elevating it on my 230-gallon tank, mind-blowingly awesome. Elevating it on this tank, I'm not sure it's changed anything. If anything, it made it worse of highlighting the Fluval gray thingy. I would almost say it's made it worse for me. But I want to look at the video because mostly I can look back at live streams and compare apples to apples. And so that's why I left it there. I was working on it yesterday and playing it with on the 40 breeders a little bit. Bob and I had a hypothesis and we were not able to prove it, so that was useless. But I wanted to see per inch raising a light. How does that actually affect the spread? Can you go too high, too low? All of these things. I feel like we know a little bit more, but there's no like direct pattern. We could be like, yeah, per inches this way, you want to go 1 inch this way to get that spread. It didn't really work out that way because it worked like on the 40 breeder. You apply the same logic like the 800, didn't work. Apply it to this, didn't work. 230 gallon, insanely, like the poster child of it working. So like, oh. Did I print those print risers? Yes, I did. Are they just squares or rectangles? Yes, they are. They're just rectangles. One of my goals is to make some nice light stands that are kind of universal that everybody can use for rim tanks. That might be one of the things coming up of like, hey, this quarter, let's make this. But for now, I just wanted to test. Those are just 6 inches tall. So, yeah. I actually realized I had those acrylic blocks we used to test par, and that was a way better method to try it. And so we ended up using those yesterday, going 1 inch at a time. Better or worse? I tried to take pictures. Better or worse? Better or worse? It's inconclusive. So don't have any real win takeaways for you guys yet. One thing on the 800 gallon, when you lay the light on top, you can kind of see the light a little bit through the water, like a beam. If you raise it up 1 inch, you lose that. If you raise it up 6 inches, you still lose it. But kind of visually didn't change at all otherwise. Like, huh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, but no, I wasn't. None of this is for allergy work or anything like that. Like I don't have those problems right now. It's in fact raising the lights. I'm afraid I'm going to get more allergy on the glass, so I'm kind of testing to go. Is it going to make it worse? But just if I'm not tinkering and just like I had an idea, I should test that idea. I get bored, so it's like, well, let's test it, and then I might go, yeah, it's terrible, and get rid of it. Like I hate that everything is lit up above it. It glows. Like I kind of hate everything about it, honestly, but I at least want to compare the videos. So I decided to leave it for the day of like, ugh. When will Aquarium Co-op products be available in India? Yes, they will be available 2029, April 12th. In reality, actually, I have no idea. The more people buy from us, the more money I make, the more I could launch into other countries, is really what it comes down to. To launch to India is probably $1 million between the staff we have to hire, the product packaging we have to change, getting the product actually there, so investing like at least 500K worth of stuff, like it's $1 million to launch into India. So until everybody that currently can buy our products buys a ton and we make $1 million in profit, and we can set that aside and going, yeah, now we're going to India. It can't happen. I mean, yes, I could take out big loans, but that seems risky, and I don't run business that way. Everything we do on a cash basis. So when we launch a product, we have the money to do that. We don't go, well, let's take out a loan, launch a product, and hope it works and doesn't bankrupt us, because we're juggling a lot of people's futures and lives at our company, and I don't like that risk. So we go, have we made the money? We have? Let's do the thing. We haven't made the money. Then we don't do the thing. We'll wait till we earn it. We earn it, we do it. We earn it, we do it. Keeps us slow and steady instead of biting off more than we can chew. Which, by the way, we will run out of brine shrimp eggs. And that's purely we haven't earned the money to rebuy them. We did not expect the foods to be as popular as they were, the Magic Small Fish Feed and the Community Pellet. And so we had to place a $100,000 order for those on top of what we have right now, which was the $100,000 for a frozen brine shrimp container, which means we'll probably be out for maybe a month, maybe. So it's very much a earn it, buy it, sell it. Earn it, buy it, sell it. Earn it, buy it, sell it. Meanwhile, paying for employees to do their jobs. And then eventually, someday, we will run out of things to launch, and then there'll be profits, right? Like put the 5 bullet points, like start company, do things, blank, blank, profit. We're in that stage of the blank, blank. We're doing things. Eventually there's profit, right? Profit. Let's see. Is Pearlweed coming back? Yes. As far as I know, yes. Love the fact that you did 2 smaller lights instead of a lone light. Yeah, everyone wants a 6-foot light until they go to ship it. They're like, what do you mean shipping $75? Like, yeah, it's an oversized 6-foot box. So that's why you got to go with 2 3-footers on something like that. I'm like 20 days from my first Liberty Molly fry from my Dan's fish pair, and 20 days from discovering if they are fry eaters. I've bred a lot of Liberty Mollies. I fell in love with that fish for a while. If you've got a lot of cover, like guppy grass, something like that, you just make more. They will eat their own. They're nimble. They'll eat their own fry, but you can keep just pushing forward, making more if you got a lot of hidey holes. Advanced green fert products for high-tech tanks. We don't have any plans to do that. That will dilute what we're doing. We kind of focus more on the getting you into the hobby, your first planted tanks. I guess the way I've explained it in the past is we focus on the majority, the 75%. 75% just want nice planted tanks, and they don't necessarily want to go to CO2, aquascaping, all that kind of stuff in the high-end form. And there are other companies that can do that, and that's just not what we're focusing on. It dilutes what we're trying to do. So, yeah. Doing something right. I remember calling the co-op and hearing, hello, this is co-op, this is Corey. Yep, I mean, I used to pick up the phone, that's true. Now we've got enough people, and honestly, I would still pick up the phone when I'm there, outside of we don't publish our phone number because it literally will just never stop ringing. With 1 million people being fans, and if every conversation is 7 minutes, like, even when we had like 300,000 subscribers, nonstop, and people would get pissed. Every time I call, it's always busy. You just let it sit off the hook. Like, no, we are buried with people going, I'm thinking about getting a fish. I live in Texas. Can you tell me about things? I'm standing at PetSmart. I remember the one I'll never forget. I answer the phone, and the person is at Lowe's trying to buy the dual aquarium stand. And he's like, I don't see it. Where is it? And I'm like, where are you? I'm at Lowe's. Okay. in Alabama. And I'm like, uh-huh. But I don't know. He's like, do you know the serial number for it? I'm like, no, you'd have to look at my video. Well, I'm here right now. And I'm like, I get that. I don't know the model number you're specifically looking for off the top of my head. I'm at work. And he was like, kept getting angrier. I'm like, you need to ask somebody. Like, here's the brand. And if they have it, it's going to be there. Like, you should have looked before you drove there. Well, I didn't have time. I decided I'd come here and get it. And they're like, I understand. Meanwhile, I remember, because I had customers that were like, they were like, what the hell is going on that phone? And then because it went on for like 20 minutes. I could not get this guy off the phone. And I was like, yeah, I got customers here. He's like, what's one more thing? One more thing. Do you think it's this one? I'm like, no, man, I don't know. I don't want you to buy it because I don't know. It's in the video. It's linked. There's a link in the video. Just open that up, show it to someone that's working there. They will help you. And super angry. And then eventually my customers were like, oh man, that was rough. And I'm like, I know. And then I was able to sell them their stuff. But the thing is, 25 minutes of work at a guy that couldn't spend any money with us, wouldn't take polite, I don't know, for an answer. And that's kind of when it was like, okay, we can't do this anymore. This is happening way too frequently. I remember another one, a nice old woman called up and it's like, yeah, can you sell me your videos on VHS? I don't know how to find them on the internet. My son will come over and he'll play them for me. And I'm like, that kind of the sweetest thing I've ever heard, but I'm like, okay, I don't even have a way to put them on VHS, but maybe you got to ask your son to do that. Like, they should be able to help you with this. But it's all of these just stuff always coming at you. I'm just like, like to this day, we still get checks in the mail. Someone will write on like notebook paper what they want to order from us, put a check in an envelope, and just ship it to the store. And my people open it up going, but there's no money for shipping or taxes, or like, this is not how this works. Like, just order it online. And so then we have to return to sender. We got to like put a stamp back on it, like take this back home. Like, oh man. And so there's all of those fringe people. And the first thing they would do is call you, like, and they jam you up, and you want to be nice. You want to be real nice because they're nice people too. So you want to be nice, but you're going, oh, I got stuff I got to get done. So I didn't make the VHS tapes for the little old lady. I wish I could be like, I'm that nice. But what I found in the past, when you enable that, they're like, sweet, watched them all. Can I get the next ones? Like, oh no, what have I done? Yeah, and money orders. Yeah, money orders get sent too, where it's like, oh, we have to. And the money orders are like always in the wrong name. It's like, oh, we couldn't even cash that and make this happen if we wanted to. But that's why we don't have a phone number. So, yeah, it's as much as we would love to provide it, it would probably put us under with the amount of just. There's a lot of, I call them lonely people, of like, and I get that way too. Like, oh man, I gotta hang out with Dean. Like, I just want to nerd out on some fish. And there's a lot of people that are like, if I or Dean answer the phone, he'd be like, sweet, I just want to talk for 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes. Not that we don't want to. It's like, I got stuff I got to get done today. So, can you really sell the story? I don't think I'd believe him if you didn't have the phone symbol out there. Yeah. Oh man. Back in my day, we just until like 2 months ago, we had a phone that still had a cord and everything, like at the store. Now it's a handheld remote thing, or cordless, I guess is what I was trying to say. Remote thing. I sound weirder by the minute. What to use for quarantine newly bought fish when you don't have access to the med trio? That's a question I can't answer. That's like saying, I'd like to eat tacos tonight. I don't have access to tacos. What should I eat? The next question would be, what do you have access to? So if you said, hey, I have access to these antibiotics, these antiparasitic, and these antifungals, and salt. Which ones of those would you use, Corey? I could then at least go, oh, I've tried that, don't know about that, and I would do this. But my blanket stance is, when in doubt, use salt, because salt treats so much stuff, but also can be hard on plants. Where'd all these lonely people come from? I don't know. I'm one of those people. Before I worked in aquatics, I was definitely the guy that every week I'm in fish stores for 2 to 3 hours. Not one store, but I would definitely do the rounds of like, I'm going to hit this one, I'm going to hit this one, I'm going to hit this one every week. And I would know, like, what do they got new? I'm an introvert, so I hate talking to people. So I would basically never talk to people. Like, I want to talk the minimum amount possible. If I could just grunt and point and things would end up in a bag and I got to leave with them, I would do that instead of talking and going, could you please net me this? But yeah, I definitely, not because I was necessarily lonely. I had my wife and friends and everything, but it's very relaxing. Just like it's a ritual of just like, yeah, I'm gonna go do my thing. So I get it. I am that guy. I'm definitely, I'll send an email though. I'll send you a long email, which we get that too. Like, oh, that's a 7-page email. Oof, buckle up. You got to read it. I was hoping someone could answer this question. I've got a 36-gallon bow front planted aquarium, and I need a better light than the lid one. I just want an inexpensive, but not too cheap of one. Well, if you printed out every light on Amazon, all 2,000 lights, and you threw a dart to pick a light, 1,990 of them would be Haiger lights with any amount of reviews, positive or negative. So that's kind of useless. But I personally, here's what I would do. This day and age, whichever year changes, if I was in the market, I would go to our forum. I would take a picture of my tank. I would post it and go, hey, I want to get a better light than the one I got. Can you take a picture of your aquarium with a light that fits these needs? And I would say, I want to pay $70, or I'm willing to spend up to $100, or whatever. And then say, people of the forum, help me out here. Will you post a picture of your aquarium that has a light that is less than the money I said I'm willing to spend up to? And then you can go, ooh, that one's too blue, too orange. I like that. People would then chime in going, I like the features. I don't like these features. I had that light. I use this one. And then they'll get you the best one you're going to get this day and age. Yeah, this person says, I like my Haiger, but I can also see there's a lacking, and I'm about to order a Phoenix. Right now, in my opinion, the company that I would back, if I was backing a company right now, is Phoenix. Now, rewind 8 years ago, I had some problems with Phoenix, and I wouldn't have backed them then, but I believe they've matured as a company. They also have new owners, by the way, if you didn't know that. That's a true thing. And one of the longtime employees now owns it, and I think that's a good thing for them. And I've tested some of their lights, because they're competitors of ours when we were selling our light. They're good. I like them. And there's some quirks there still, but I gotta admit, I like a decent amount of the Phoenix lights that are out right now. So but I don't know the budget. Your budget might be $40, and they're not gonna be in your price range for you. That brings up a good example, or a good point. Bow front. The way I like to light a bow front, by the way, is I like one longer light across the back and then one shorter light in the bow. Because what happens when you walk up, fish come forward? I hate it when my fish are dark and they look better away. So I get a smaller light up front, kind of for maybe the top. I'm assuming you got a glass top. If you don't have a glass top, factor that in as well. Get yourself a glass top. Glass top, smaller light in front, longer light in the back. Doesn't have to be super powerful up front, but I do want them illuminated. Which is going to cost more money because it's 2 lights instead of 1, which is a bummer. Let's see here. Unhelpful plant guy meme suggests Shihiro's anyway. I have that light. It's expensive. and I liked it at Chris Lukup's house, but I've tried it on like so many tanks here, and I'm like, yeah, I just don't like it. It looks too artificial for me. They're really powerful, so it's like that Phoenix Monster Stingray they used to have, where it put out tons of par, but not visual spectrums for the human eye. So you would say like, ooh, that's kind of a dim light. Meanwhile, it's 100 par and you're growing algae like a madman. The Chihiro's light kind of does that same thing for me. I put it on the 800 gallon, and after 4 days, the front of the tank was carpeted in algae. And I moved it to a different one, like, kind of the same thing. Dang it. But if I turn it down too much, then I'm like, it's not visually bright enough for me. The par is correct, but now I don't like the way the tank looks. So, yeah. I have Hygers, and they're good for the money, and the timer is decent. Which one of the 7,000 models do you have? Hyger would be a much better brand if they, like, reduce their SKU count from everything to some refined list. I literally think last week I counted heaters and it was 47 different heaters. Like, what are you guys doing? Let's see here. On the subject of bow fronts, would it be smarter to have a single light bar running from the back to the front of the tank? Not sure how it might fasten. Not really, because then you're just going to have really dark ends, I think. So, yeah, I don't think that's necessarily going to be better for you. Pre-co-op lights, I bought a night crew, and they were fine, but they just didn't remember their settings, and so they were always at max. But post-co-op, I won't go back. Well, thank you for the compliment. Unfortunately, I don't have many more lights to sell you guys. But I am, like, part of this kind of stuff I'm doing, I'm working on, like, if and when I do another light, I will have some more, I got some ideas brewing. I was like, I know kind of what I'm looking for. I got to spend a year or two convincing people all lights are too powerful and then launch a lower powered light, because our light is as powerful it is because people buy light based on how powerful it is. Not what they need. It's like people buying cars. There's a lot of people that buy cars like, if I can't do 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, I'm not buying that car. Meanwhile, you go 0 to 60 once every 14 years, like in 2 seconds. Like you just drive around town all day. So, yeah. I got to convince people, like, maybe you don't need that. Let's see. How about a 72-inch light? Never. Well, I shouldn't say never. FedEx, UPS, and USPS all have to get on the same page and not charge $1 billion to ship a 6-foot-long thing. Which, if anything, I think are getting more expensive, not less expensive. So, I want to match some memberships. I'm buying them right now. Thank you to Rob Douglas, who's been a member for 6 months, buying 10 memberships. I've matched it with 10. Hopefully the new people will enjoy it. I'm emotionally invested in the co-op light journey. You're telling me. Like, there's a bunch of us in the company that worked really hard. Like, it started out with, we tried to work with Fluval. That didn't really work out. Then we started getting light samples from a company in Vietnam, and they were going to be like $600 lights. That wasn't going to work out. The lights were dope, but $600, that ain't going to work. Then we tried a couple different Chinese manufacturers. One of them we almost went to print with, and ended up finding a better one like just right before that, so we swapped again. And now we just need to go back, like, all right, we still have all the knowledge and the stuff we learned doing this work. We know how long it takes to get ETL rating, FCC rating, UL rating, all this stuff and what that entails. And, you know, what engineers will submit our electronics to have them take a look before we go into full-on production and all of that. But, yeah, there's still, like, in most meetings, just like, oh, that's the bummer. Still in a bummer mode. I don't need a Hellcat, but I really want one. That's right. That's the American way. I worry I'll regret not getting an Aquarium Co-op light for my 29. As long as you never buy one of our lights, you won't know what you're missing. You'll be fine. Get out of the city. Cars need pep if you have space to drive it. I still would argue most people don't drive cars to within even 70% of their capability. Like, just saying. If you truly get to experience a skilled driver in a car, some crazy stuff can be done in average cars. Like, it's, instead, we have people that buy $100,000 vehicles and they basically take them to work. Kind of, it's no different than buying, way too much lighting for your planet aquarium than dialing it down a ton. Like, well, that's what people want, though. People want a car that can do 0 to 100 in 4 seconds, even though they do 0 to 30 all day long every day on the way to work. How about lighting a corner bow front tank? Yeah, so that one, like the 54 bows and the 90-something bows, you have to do the opposite. The longer light kind of goes in the front, and then you get kind of a middle light, and then you can get a tiny light in the back. But a lot of times, all your hoses and filtration's right in the very back of it, so you don't necessarily need to light that up. And then when it comes to bow fronts, usually you can do less power front and stronger power in front and less power as you go back, because taller plants towards the back don't need as much light. So those are a couple tips for dealing with bow fronts. Let's see. I unfortunately had to stop my 3-year membership due to us having a house fire before Christmas. Ooh, bummer. And you lost your dog. That is a real bummer, Casper. Man. I wish there was a way that we had any control of memberships. Like, I would just click the oh man, you're having bad times? Free. You're 12? It's free. Gifting a membership? Make sure that guy gets one. Like, that's a bummer. That's all I'm going to say. Like, I don't want to dwell on losing a dog. That's devastating. Losing a house, that's devastating. All I can say is we'll be here when you hopefully you're able to come back. If we can do anything, but I feel like that's useless when you're like, let me know if I can help, knowing like there's nothing we can do to help. Like, all I can say is like, dang, that's a bummer. I feel for you, and hopefully you can get through it as easy as possible. That's what I can say that I think might have some consoling words to it. Will Aquarium Co-op sell aquariums online? Probably not. I don't believe there is a model that works long term. I'm not saying it doesn't get done. I just don't think there's a model that works long term. And so, yeah. Okay, let me back that up. Good aquariums and shipping online don't really go together without dramatically being very expensive. So I don't like selling things that I think are way too expensive for the sake of just doing it. I fight against that pretty hard. One thing that we haven't launched, because I'm still fighting with my own company about it, is I don't want to sell substrate where a 20-pound bag's gonna or 40 pounds, let's say 40 pounds is gonna cost you $60 or something. Is that what it was? I can't remember. It worked out where it was way cheaper for you to go to a local store or buy it on Amazon. I was like, it doesn't make sense for us to play in this realm. Let's not do it. And we know people will buy it. The problem is it just it doesn't feel good to me. So until I can find a way to can we get a deal in shipping? Can we get cheaper gravel that's good? If we can't make one of these things budge, we're not doing it. So, and we haven't done it because I can't make one of those things budge yet. Yeah, most of the tanks I got online, no issues, just saying. And I would wager you've paid more than $35 for a rimless aquarium. That's the thing, is you can buy anything online. This tank's only $3,000 or $4,000 if you buy it online. But it's shipping's $800 for that aquarium. Oh God. And so what I'm saying is people go into the store and they'll be like, well, that aquarium was $35. Why is it $135 online? It's because the breakage rate and shipping is insane. And so it's not that it can't be done. I like to do things that are sustainable. And so if we're going to do it, we're going to try to ship pallets of tanks, because that scales a lot better, to stores, and then have stores sell them. And there'll be, 30% of the people go, hey, I don't have a local store to me yet. Like, yeah, it's one baby step at a time for us, unfortunately. Would Variatus platies be okay in a summer pond in western New York? Probably. I would think they would do just fine. Let's see here. Why don't fish stores sell sponges or filter floss that has good tank bacteria so cycling new tanks can be easier? Because the public exists. So here's literally what happens. We do this, and it's kind of a bummer half the time. So imagine I have this in an aquarium, and it's filled with all the goodies, right? You got all the bacteria you want. And then you set up your aquarium, and you find a snail. We're now the devil. Even though it might come from a plant or somewhere else, like, no, it must have been this. Or algae. It must have been that sponge filter I got from them. And so basically, the upside's not high enough. It's a lot of downsides of like, you're going to get blamed for anything that goes wrong. Must have been that used sponge filter. Must have been. Meanwhile, you're going, I think we might make $5 if we do that. Half the time we don't even upcharge. It's just like we're trying to help. And so you wouldn't do that, but if you sell to 100 customers, 10 of them will. And then you're going, so we lost 10 customers by offering them a thing, and if we don't offer the thing, we just keep the customers. We just won't offer the thing. That's kind of what happens, unfortunately. And so, yeah. Whereas you give it away, like we do this a lot, give it away, then it's like, well, how mad can you be? I just gave it to you. You asked for it, I gave it to you. And so if you come into our store and you're like, hey, can I get a handful of that? Can I get some filter squeezins? Can I? Like, yeah, sure. Fine. Yeah. You're going to buy stuff from us and you're going to be a fish keeper? That sounds great. Where when you set it up for like, oh, it's exchange of money to things, like people get real weird about that. So, yeah, buy plants at your local fish store. Same thing as a seeded sponge filter. Yes, I've championed that many a time. Many a time. Worked in a pet industry for 8 years. Truer words have never been spoken. People blame you for the most wild stuff. The human brain works this way. I've been doing nothing. I make a change. Something bad happens. It must have been the change. So, for instance, I'm going to knock on wood right now because I can hear my wife going, knock on wood. So imagine that here I am. Corey's been alive for 41 years. Corey now has cancer. Corey goes, well, it must be 3D printing that did that. That's the new thing in my life. We all know 3D printing has nothing to do with me getting cancer, knock on wood, but that's how the human mind works. So when we go into oh, my fish has a tumor. The only thing I've changed is I'm using this 3D printed part. It must be the filament. And then well, that would take years to leach in enough to actually have an effect. Like, it's not that, but that's we jump to what's the latest thing to change, because oftentimes it is that, hey, we changed the ketchup we normally buy, and then someone in your family goes, hey, the hot dogs taste weird. And then you go, yeah, they were out of the ketchup we normally buy. And then you go, oh, and then you get the normal ketchup again, and it's fine. Most things are like that. But when you start dealing with stuff you don't understand, that's when, like aquariums and ecosystems, that's where it's like, it must be the thing. It's like, no, the new ketchup didn't make you sleep in and miss work. That's not how ketchup works. Like, you don't know how ketchup works, but that's not how ketchup works. So, let's see. So hard to locate healthy longfin pandas right now. If you're local to us, we got longfin panda corridoras. How do I manage trolling viewers? People that don't do water changes and don't add a filter? Not very well. I mean, I still reflecting on the way my last live stream went 3 weeks ago, where I let that guy get under my skin, and then my internet went out, so it looked like I rage quit, which the internet legitimately went out. I promise you. Uh, but I try to ignore and avoid those people. My career used to be, I told people I don't want to be around people that disagree with me all the time because it's unpleasant. And then I bought into the fact where everyone's like, you're creating an echo chamber, you're an idiot. And I thought that was bad. Now, 11 years on YouTube, I literally want to live in an echo chamber. And people go, but yes, you're just going to be surrounded by yes men. And I'm going to go, yep. And I realize that, yes, I want to surround people that like what I like. And then also I can go get differing opinions and I can listen to people. I don't want to surround myself with people that want to tear me down all day long every day. That's not good for my mental health. And so I basically just block and shut out people that are trying to be a detractor. And that's the big difference for me. Are you trying to be a detractor, or are you trying to be good? If you're trying to be good, you get multiple passes with me. If I look at you and go, I think you're just trying to be a pain in the ass, I got zero time for that. I got zero time for you're trying to make other people's lives harder intentionally, because that happens all the time where you're unintentionally making someone's life harder. And there's a lot of patience for that. A lot of patience where you don't realize, that you're making it harder. But the people that go out of their way to like, watch this, I'm going to make this guy squirm. I'm going to make life harder. I got no time for that. Can I ask, if you were given a tropical 110 liter tank, what would you stock it in there? 110 liters is how many gallons? 30? Let me Google. It is 29. I was way off. I would do, what would I do? I would just do guppies. And I say guppies would be dope. Live bears in general. So I would plan it up. I'd get some corridors along the bottom. I'd get some shrimp. And I would do a live bear mid-water and just love that tank every day. Look, babies, it's going. Oh, man, I laid eggs in the corridors. I collected those. I hatched them over there. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. That's what I would do. I would love the heck out of that 29-gallon tank. Brian says, I like healthy discussion and conversation. I do too. In fact, Brian is a great example. I feel like over the years, Brian and I have butted heads on different things, but he's still here because I believe that Brian he's not doing it maliciously. He wants to have a conversation. I'm okay with having a conversation. I'm not okay with someone trying to detract from maybe the show I'm trying to put on, or trying to make me look bad, or just going out of the way to be a butthole. Brian does not do that. Brian has come and gone. We've talked many years, and I enjoy, and he'll call me on my BS. He's done that. He'll go, I don't know about that. And I go, you know what? You're right. You're right about that. Actually, you're right. Okay. Fair play. But yeah, there's a line. I don't know where the line is, but when you cross it, it's real obvious. Like, you've crossed the line, and I don't want to deal with that. So, where'd it go? Livingston Custom Fab makes, I think you're the guy. Yeah, you make a lot of cool metal stuff, by the way. Still, I just always toss that out there. I specifically use PLA filament, and I specifically use Sunlu, Sunlu, and printing very, very well on my bamboo printer. Like, I'm shocked at the quality. So I'm just going with that. Let's see here. How did I come up with a company name? Long story short, I wanted to be like a grocery co-op. I loved their vibe. They were more natural. They seemed to be helpful and would do organic stuff and locally made stuff. And I love that whole vibe. To the simplest point was, when I visit a co-op grocery store, the employees seem like they want to be there. They've got different products that I can get in other places. Some of it's locally made. They've got 15 different types of honey from local places. Like that vibe, I'm about that. It costs more. I like it though. It's different. And I was like, I want to do that, but in aquariums. And so I was aquarium co-op. Turns out really difficult to do at scale because it's just hard. Organic fish foods and stuff. We did that for a while. Locally made fish foods, locally bred fish. We incorporate what we can. We try to be conscious about the earth where we can, all of those kind of things. And that was the basis for like, why'd you become that? I'm like, well, that's how we became that. Let's see. Am I bringing back the blankets? So far, no. So if you got one of the Enjoy Nature Daily blankets, they're gone now. So but at the moment there are no plans for this. We might do. I got a cool Christmas gift I'll show everybody. My Aquarium Co-op cargo container. It also holds pens and stuff, right? But this thing's super cool. We might do a very limited run that members could buy of this. They're not really practical. You'd have to have a desk, and you'd have to really like what we do to have an Aquarium Co-op cargo container. But I thought it was super cool, and the person that made them for us makes all our shirts and stuff. And so we reached out and said, hey, could we do like a run of like 100 of these things, and maybe people would want them? Maybe. We haven't heard back yet, so I don't know. Am I worried about microplastics in my aquarium from 3D printing? No, I don't think I know enough to know if I'm worried about it. I think other people will worry about it before I will. And then if I see detrimental effects, I would definitely go, oh my gosh, it's going poorly. But lots of people have been doing this for many years before me, and it seemingly doesn't have problems. Just because it seems like it doesn't have problems doesn't mean it isn't a problem. But so far, I haven't seen any problems with other people or my stuff. Is there anything besides tanks that I sell that's in the store but not online? Not really anymore. For a while, it was salt, the brine shrimp salt. We had a CO2 like cartridge type system for a little while. It wasn't ours; it was just another brand. But not many things at all. Most everything is the same, except for when we just can't. Aquarium Co-op mat / rug, Aquarium Co-op pop sockets. Yeah, so I live in this very hardscape candy. Yeah, we are looking at it though. We are considering selling some hardscape again, but that's a whole new cargo container we haven't planned yet. But when it comes to like Aquarium Co-op swag, if I'm already on edge about people like, you're just trying to sell your fish food, this guy's nothing but selling crap. If I put out like an Aquarium Co-op pop socket, even though I do research and I know the best one because my wife and I both use them, and I could create a version similar, and I know exactly how I'd make it better, it'll just look like all I'm doing is money grabs. And so that's kind of why I do it where it's like, I'm not trying to make money on this stuff. I'm doing a very limited number. It's kind of a cool thing. But I don't want it to be like I'll say bulk resupply. Bulk resupply for a minute was crapping out a new plushie like every 11 minutes and puzzles and games. Like when they got bought out by venture capital, they were like, cool, let's sell anything but aquarium crap. And it was like, ugh. That being said, I want to be on the flip side. I am very intrigued by Serious Reefs, Ryan's other thing, and I so far support it because it seems awesome. But I don't want to be thrown under the same thing of like, guys just grifting, selling crap to sell crap. It's not even aquarium related anymore. Dude's trying to sell Aquarium Co-op containers. You see this, guys? Like, it's like, ah. But I know also it's cool to have little things. So that's why I'm doing it in this like very small, like, here's some stuff. Yes, it'll be available. If you're a member, you'll be able to buy it. And that's just what it is. Like, I don't, it's a balance that I don't want to have to do, basically. Aquarium Co-op UV sterilizer. I could be into that if we can find a good working LED one, but shipping bulbs, I can't even get them to my own warehouse or my store without them being 20% broken from wholesalers, let alone trying to ship them through the shipping network. When I went to my first partner store, I tried to wear every Aquarium Co-op item I owned. Nice. Yeah. I mean, I try to sprinkle it in. I try to sprinkle in the stuff. If I genuinely go, hey, that's neat, and then I know, like, hey, there's 100 other, like we got 1 million people that are fans, right? There's probably 100 other people that are like, hey, that's kind of cool. I need that. But not everyone needs one. So someone might be like, sweet, I wanted that blanket. Another guy goes, not buying a $65 blanket. Who do you think I am? Right? But then they might go, oh, but I need that or I need this. So just little flair, little piece of flavor, if you will. Aquarium Co-op green leisure suit. Well, that if I have that made, we're doing it up. Okay. Yes. Everyone needs a Co-op green leisure suit. Faux show. Jody P donating 10 memberships. Thank you. Jody, you've been supporting a lot of people around on a lot of live streams. I don't always make myself known in those live streams, but I continually see your support all around the fish community, and I just wanted to shout you out for that, of like not going unnoticed, at least by me. I mean, not that I'm like, I certified, she's being supportive. I just saying I noticed it, and I think a lot of other people notice it, and good on you for, doing good things. So, yeah. I will match that with 10 more or memberships. Let's see here. Boom, there we go. Ooh, I feel like my brain is tingling. Like I'm supposed to be shouting out somebody else. Brain is searching. Did I run into them? I'm trying to remember. It would make someone's day if I can remember it. I just got to remember it. It might not be this live stream, but there was someone I was like, oh yeah, they would love that. I can't think of it right now. Let's see. I was a little confused at first earlier today. Was the Patty's podcast? Was that Patty's podcast or your own podcast? Not sure how Patty's wound up at the top of my YouTube channel feed. It was great though. Hail the Patty Nation. That was his live stream. I was a guest on his. I shared it on my community page. So if you're following me, it might have shown up there. And I agree, doesn't always stand out of like whose channel that would be on. But yeah, I was on his channel. I had a good time. So thanks for watching if you were. My Secret Santa? No. Wait. Yes! Yes! Well, I dang! I failed myself and everybody around me today. I should have done that last week when I was intending live stream. I didn't. I did get super cool Secret Santa gifts. I won't spoil it now-ish. I posted on the community, but I'll show them off elsewhere or in another live stream. But yes, that is one. Thank you. And yeah. But there's another one somewhere too. I run into these things like, oh yeah, I gotta remember that. Hey, wait. Can we dive into this 29-gallon Guppy Cory shrimp tank? Yes. In what way? Are you looking at what plants, what filtration? By the way, as others have said in the chat, if you ever want to talk deeper about something, the forum, it is literally meant to do this of like, hey, you talked about this thing. Do you have examples? I want to talk about this. And then we can have like, oh, this big thing. Now everybody can partake and read and go, oh, yeah. So if you really want to get into something, by all means, the forum is a place to do that. I hang out there all day, every day. I'm always going, hey, what's going on? Okay. If you haven't, go put your 5 goals down for 2025 and you enter the giveaway, basically. You make yourself a little account there and hang out with the rest of us fools that spend too much time talking about fish. Candy, can't you retroactively remember? That's right. Not always. Sometimes it's like my wife's like, hey, you got to remember that. Or like, yeah, I can't remember whether it was in a Christmas card or something. I can never remember. Can I help with the co-op forum? Just the shrimp section? Definitely, yes. If you wanted to, I don't know, steward that of like, you can make topics weekly to talk about. You can, the only overall thing on the forum is we don't go out of our way to promote any one thing besides Aquarium Co-op, because I'm a shill. But outside of that, Like you could mention your own brand. Like if someone's in Singapore, you're gonna have a lot of like, hey, looks good, this looks good. You also have world knowledge of all these breeders around the world, but we try to make sure we don't steer way too hard to one. And as long as you can kind of maintain reasonable, like, I'm here to grow the whole shrimp hobby, it'll be fine. It always comes to me. It always comes back to what are your intentions. Your intentions were good, you get a pass. Your intentions, like, I can kind of read between the lines, I'm not sure about that, you don't get a pass. Which I don't think I'm going to have a problem with you, Ben. I'm just laying out, kind of what the vibe over there is. Because people all the time will ask, like, they're asking for a loach forum. And I go, totally. You guys keep talking about loaches and make topics about loaches. We will have a whole loach forum. But what kills forums is having 3,000 different types of forums where nobody's posting. That just kills them. So if you build it, we will come, basically, and we will build your little space to hang out with. We do have a shrimp part. I myself am trying to hang out a little more in the library part because I want that to become super popular because I love libraries. One of my goals is to reconnect with old friends and slash YouTube or otherwise. Do I still talk or chat with guys like Flip or Lucas? Not really. Every once in a while when we meet up at a show, which I haven't gone to shows in a while, but if I'm being honest, myself, Flip, and Lucas, we all do it for work. And so you kind of want to chat about non-work. Like the last time I really talked, like had a conversation with like John of Katy Tropicals, it was about lawnmowers. And it was fascinating because we both know a decent amount about fish. You talk fish all the time. And it's like, oh, you got a no mower? I got a zero-turn mower. What are you running into? What about this? What about that? What do you like this? Ooh, you're finding it relaxing. Oh, it's nice to get away from YouTube. I agree. And so you got to kind of find interests that line up outside of it. Not that you can't talk about fish. It's just you kind of, after a few hours of talking with someone, you've kind of like, well, kind of mostly done that. Where like Dean and I often are talking about, and my wife, like, oh, look at this food or this baking thing. And it's the thing outside of fish. Even though we talk about fish often, it's the stuff outside of fish that ends up being more friendship than work. Does that make sense? Like, we have to do fish for work, and we like it, but it's the stuff outside of fish that is more of a friendship thing. Does that make sense? Let's see. Candy's like telling people about something, and I'm not even sure which thing she... Oh, I remember. Yeah. All right. There's so many... We're at a point now where the company, like, there's so many things in play that I'm like, I wonder if Candy even knows about the thing that I'm thinking about. And then I'm like, no, it's not that thing. Oh, it turns out a different thing. Like, there's so many things going on for me at the top of all these things that I'm not even sure, like, who's even know we're developing this, we're working on this? Is that what we're talking about? Oh, not talking about that. Okay. Keep my mouth shut. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, that's what it was. I can't remember their name. My wife will tell me the name. My wife remembered. I ran into a family at a event, a Christmas tree event. And my brain is now forgetting the name of the person. But here's what happened, and here's what I want to say is, I was having a conversation. They approached. It was cool to meet them. Finished having the conversation. Told my wife, and I was like, "Dang it! I don't have any of the wild-caught Cory coins." And my wife did in her purse. So then I got the coin. Then I searched that entire place, and I think you had already left. But if you're listening to this and you would know if you met me at like a tree thing, and just say, "I'm sorry. I wanted to give you a coin," and I want to shout you out basically, and just say, "Hey, thanks." That was fun. So, yes, my wife keeping me straight on the stuff I'm supposed to remember. How is the More Aquarium Co-op channel different than the Aquarium Co-op? For a long time, it was basically where we put stuff that we knew YouTube would hate, but we still wanted to put out. And so that's what it is over there. Like, oh, we tested shorts for a while. We've done other stuff. It's a testing ground mostly. So, yeah. Do we have a forum on goldfish? I don't think we do yet. Um, if a lot of people want to talk about goldfish, we certainly will. Like I keep goldfish. I like goldfish, but it doesn't. Yeah, you want to make sure that the conversation's actually happening and not just like, oh, it's dead over there. So, um, yeah, yeah. I don't do names. Everybody's, hey, you. Yeah, that's kind of me too. If I had live streamed like that week or something, I would have remembered. But it's been so long. It's only been like 3 weeks, but in my world, it's been so long. Do I think Dean will ever like snails? He hates them. I don't think so. Um, do I just post my 5 goals for 2025 on the forum or in a certain spot? There is a thread that says, giveaway and 2025 goals, and I think you guys will enjoy reading through other people's goals, because some of them will be like, hey, that's a struggle I have, and then some are like, hey, I had that struggle and I'm ahead of that person in that journey, and then some are like, oh, I don't even know about that yet. So you get a lot of ideas, and you can like, oh, I want to talk to that person about that. That sounds cool. Didn't even know that was a thing. And so I've only read like the first 3 pages of it, but yeah, I recommend checking it out. What are other people's goals? Are they like you, or are you doing something completely different? So, yeah. What do I think about keeping fish simple, saying never to feed bloodworms? I haven't watched the video, so I probably shouldn't even comment on it, but just from my own, like, I don't know, I've fed, I don't even know how many hundreds or thousands of pounds of bloodworms. And outside of apistogrammas, and I think there's like one more species that kind of don't do well and get bloated. Uh, I with any food, I think it's what fish you feeding it to. So like Corydoras do real well on bloodworms, in my opinion, but it all depends. There's also lots of different brands of bloodworms, lots of different standards, and how clean are they, and how good a quality are they. So I just opened up my 6th can of whoop ass, says Bougie. I mean, 6th can of small fish feed. Exciting times over here in the fish room. Yes, I'm sure you will be thrilled when we have the 1 pound bags, as most of us will. I was gonna make a joke and say like I had to take a loan to buy that, but I don't take loans. But I am betting the farm, so to speak, on like, yeah, you guys are gonna want some 1 pound bags, right? Because you guys are buying it and you're liking it. Let's hope it's not because it could technically go bad, and I don't want to run out, so I had to buy. To me, it's a little crazy to me still to this day, where it's like, how, eventually stuff comes to a meeting to Corey, how many you want to buy? And then I sit there and I'm like, okay, so we've sold how many thousands of the 4 ounces? How much do I think will grow in the next 3 months before this product launches? All the stores want to feed it at the store. We know that fish farm people want it from us as well. How many? Like 6,000 1-pounders? How much does that cost? How much is 6,000 1-pounders? Can we afford it? And then, we also need community? Oh, no. Okay, all right, how much do we got to spend? Like, don't guess the wrong number. Don't get stuck, Corey. This product can go bad in 3 years. Like, what are you going to do? And so it's like nerve-wracking to pull the trigger on that. Of like, oh, man, what am I doing? And those are my Tuesday meetings. Where I'm just like, oh, I'm beat after going, yeah, let's order $100,000 in fish food. That makes sense, I hope. Yeah. Let's see. Have I heard about the discourse involving bloodworms? My shop fed a ton of them, and I feed a ton of them at home, but I personally haven't noticed any issues. We feed a lot we sell a lot, and we feed a lot at the store. I don't have any feedback of having a problem yet, but what people don't realize is like Hikari bloodworms are the top tier bloodworm. They own every good bloodworm. Everything below the Hikari is different farms that are worse quality. So the amount of blood that's in the frozen cube, like that bloody water and how the worms look and all that. Yeah. Hikari's got the best bloodworms. They've had it. They've had that working relationship. They got it locked down. So I could see where off-brand other farms could have some problems, but I haven't noticed problems with the, as Candy says, knock on wood, with the Hikari ones. Could be coming for all I know. I just haven't seen it yet. And because we sell so much of everything we do, well, not everything, but we tend to have a lot of data and a lot of sales on a lot of stuff. We typically see problems real early. So typically, we will see a problem very early, and then the rest of the industry starts going, hey, you having a problem? We're like, yes, we've sold 2,200 of them, and we have this defect rate. What do you got? Well, we sold about 30, and I think we're having a problem. Like, okay, well, that's not really significant because you don't have the data, you think. But in general, if something's going wrong with a product we sell, whether we manufacture or not, we are set up to basically track everything. And so we see it very early, like, hey, a pattern's emerging. And we'll get on it and like, okay, it wasn't really a pattern, I guess. Or sometimes like, oh, yeah. Is our store selling live blackworms? We don't. We were at a point when we stopped, we were selling 30 pounds a week. And it was expensive. We weren't making much money. And all the fires and all the problems were just, it was a nightmare. And people would get angry at us. You don't have the worms. You still didn't have the worms. Why don't you have the worms? And we were like, yeah, we don't own a worm farm. There's none to buy, so we didn't buy them. And I think that live blackworms are only going to get more scarce. What I mean by that is they're only going up in price due to shipping, due to wage costs, due to land costs, due to all these things. And so more and more people need to work on cultivating their own and just going like, yeah, if you want the live blackworms, I think every day that goes on is going to get harder and harder for it to be a buy it and feed it, where it's going to be more like you buy a culture and you culture because it's too expensive to just pay the money and then feed them. Which it hasn't been that way for the last 30 years. It's been a buy and feed thing. But I think we're going to get to a point where it's not going to be one of those buy. It's going to be a buy and cultivate, then feed. So I think it's only going to get tougher from here to get those. Let's see here. I heard tube effects worms are dangerous, and it scared me off of using them in any form. Ever heard anything about that? Yes. Well, I see. I already am trying to correct myself from the feedback I got on the last live stream. Trying to not say most, because I don't usually mean most. It is just a word I use instead of a lot. I believe there to be a lot of people that would not know the difference between a tube effects worm and a oh gosh, what are the other worms that are like riddled with bacteria? Put me in the group that doesn't know the difference because I can't remember the name. Tube effects. Why am I like drawing a blank? Maybe I'm just talking about blackworm versus tube effects worm, but okay. Where am I going with this? That's a better thing. Live tube effects worms, there's some other worms in there too, but they can carry lots of disease and stuff because they can be cultivated in like human waste and like sewage troughs, basically, like bad. And so they're more likely to bring some illness into your fish or you. However, when you get a tube effects worm that has been like, I think irradiated, basically like it goes through like a Hikari process where they're trying to sterilize the heck out of that thing. It gets like to 99.8% clean. I personally haven't really noticed any problems with that. But also part of this is like, well, 30 years ago, you might not have been able to get irradiated tube effects worms, right? And black worms and tube effects worms were the same thing, being sold as the same thing. Some got people sick, some didn't, right? And so now I think we're at a point where we do know the differences, or we can tell the differences at least at farm level and store level, and there are ways that we've made them safer, but there's still I don't know if I want to call it wives' tales or whatever, like, hey, my grandpa did that and it killed all his discus or whatever. And yeah, that can happen. But it can happen with anything. Like, for instance, and I don't have any knowledge of this, but let's say bloodworms killed a bunch of fish. Like, well, maybe they got thawed out at a wholesaler before they ever made it to a store and before they ever made it to someone's home aquarium. And then people are like, yeah, bloodworm's bad. Like, well, no, they were handled incorrectly. So, like, chicken for home use, like, oh, it's got salmonella. Like, if you're getting it, you've cooked it wrong or you've handled it wrong. It doesn't mean all chicken's bad. It just means, like, something went wrong in the process. And so, yeah. So, Annalay says, a biologist chimed in on the Keeping Fish Simple video. He'd been feeding his own brand fish food exclusively and then started putting frozen bloodworms straight into the tanks, likely causing fatal bloat. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't think I know enough to know that, like, is it specifically a change in food? Was it, too much protein? Was it a specific fish? I don't know, honestly. I don't think I've really run into that, but I also don't only feed an exclusive food. I don't tend to be that guy. I try to feed a variety of stuff. Like, even all my tanks, they basically get at least my small small fish feed and my community pellet. But then also this week they've gotten frozen bloodworms. They've also gotten frozen brine shrimp, and they got some extreme krill flake this week as well. So I've never been one to buy into one fish food to rule them all, whether it's been New Life Spectrum, whether it's been Rapashi, or I'm trying to think of other ones over the years of, like, you just feed the one. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. I've always been the variety guy. So, which means I don't have experience going, hey, eat this one fish food for a year and then swap you. Does that cause problems? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Let's see. Corey, your product on testing water is not working properly in my tank. I had to test it somewhere else, and yours was way off. Why? Well, there could be a few reasons. You could be doing it wrong. That does happen sometimes. Read the directions. 2, how do you know it's off? If you've only tested it with one other thing, how do you know theirs isn't off? And this is going to come off like Corey's being super guarded about his product. All I can tell you is we get these kind of claims fairly often-ish, and fairly often-ish we buy lab-grade known solutions, and then we test our product on those, and they come out correct. And so the one that happens all the time is like, why is your kit different than my liquid test kit? And then oftentimes, like, if it's on the forum, people will be like, yeah, you didn't shake it enough. You get that color when you don't shake it enough. And then they do the liquid kit correctly, and they're like, oh, it was accurate, actually. And so, and I don't want to say that our kit is perfect. I don't think any kit is going to be perfect. I don't think you can have a perfect test kit for $20. I just don't think you're going to get the crazy level of results. But there is a lot of human error when it comes to doing things that we see quite often. Whether it's a liquid kit, a test strip kit, there are also just bad liquid kits. There's bad test strip kits. Technically, there could be a bad run of ours. We don't see that, though, because we bring them in huge batches, and we would see it everywhere. I can say we still have municipalities, governments using our test strips to test your water in different cities. Like, they buy them hundreds of bottles at a time to do spot checks. And when I test against lab-grade solutions, they are also accurate. That doesn't mean that you couldn't have something weird in your water screwing up our test. It doesn't mean a bunch of things. But that could be why you might be getting different results. The first thing I would do is, like, make sure you have tested it 3 different ways, right? Like, to make sure that, you know, if you have ours and you have someone else's, how do you know someone else's is correct? How do you know ours is incorrect? You don't until you really get like a third thing going there. And hopefully, obviously, making sure that all 3 of them, the tests were done correctly. If you're using liquid kits, they were sterilized in between. The drops are uniform. 5 milliliters was actually 5 milliliters. You actually shook it for 5 minutes and not like, oh, I thought, because some of them are like shake for 1 minute, shake for 30 seconds, shake for 5 minutes. This one shake for 2 minutes, then put more drops in, shake for 2 minutes, then read at 5 minutes. There's all these different types of steps for different ones. And so what you could do is you could post on the forum, or you could go to customer service and you can go, hey, I'm getting a result that's not accurate. And then we can start going, what's your process? Can you show me? Did you read it at a minute? And so things change all the time. We do try to make our products better. And I believe right now, if you were to buy our test strips today, you will get a new version that just started shipping. And let me look at it. And I believe you're now going to compare it 15 seconds instead of 1 minute. We were able, I believe the reason, because we might even have another version coming after this. I believe we could make the hardness things more accurate to more people by reading them, by changing it a little bit to read faster. And so, yeah, like results in 15 to 60 seconds. After 15 seconds, compare the hardness, buffer, which is the KH, the pH, and the chlorine results. After 60 seconds, compare nitrate and nitrite. By changing the pads a little bit and changing the directions, we now can get slightly more accurate results. But that does make it a step harder for people to remember, like, oh, I'm comparing these ones at 15 seconds and these ones at 60 seconds. So there could be a lot of variance in there, and, our people can help you through it. Where are these forums? They are on our website, forum.aquariumcoop.com. Let's see. I notice I can gift memberships on your stream from my iPhone. Yours is the only one. How do you do that? Or is it just YouTube settings? As far as I know, you should be able to do it on anybody's live stream. Shouldn't be just that. But I will also warn you, don't use the YouTube app. They'll charge you more to do it. You want to use like a browser so you don't have to pay the Apple tax. But should be anybody's. If it's only mine, I couldn't tell you why. I just bought these test strips on Friday. Will mine be the new ones? If you bought them from our website, yes, they would be the new ones. But to know, you just have to read the package. The directions are on the package. So if you go, oh, what you just said is what it says to do, you have the new ones, the newest ones. If you bought them at a store, you, depending on how they're selling, you might have one that's a version. And when I say slightly better, we're talking real slightly. Like, it's not like, oh, one's bad, one's good. We're talking like, no, it might be 1% more accurate or something. Like, it's very small, but it's slightly more accurate, and it doesn't cost us any more money. And when we can make things slightly better, we go, and why wouldn't we? Let's just make it slightly better. Just make it slightly better. It's Aquarium Coop and not Aquarium Co-op. No, it is Aquarium Co-op, but Aquarium Coop is just a short abbreviated, thing. Like some of our fish wholesalers, they abbreviate more, call us Aquacop. But no, it's... So in business, if I have to give someone my email and I say it's, this at Aquarium, and then they always make me spell Aquarium. And then if I say co-op, the next question is instantly, is there a hyphen in there? Or if I just say Aquarium Coop, and then I spell it out, AQUARIUMCOOP.com. And so doing that a billion times every day is just Aquarium Coop. And also for a while we were making jokes like, we're all cooped up and like we're like a chicken coop and just, it just, we don't mind having fun with our own name. And yeah, it's officially Aquarium Co-op, but yeah, it's the coop. Makes it really easy. Yeah, Corey's real name is Koopy. For a long time, there was that. Koopy instead of Corey. Co-op, Koopy. Aquacop is on the case. I haven't seen Aquacop around in a while, by the way. Brian says, also, I've watched pet shops clean the test tube in their tank. Yeah, it's not the best practice. I'll give you that. Let's see. Teresa, I don't know if there's more. Did you ask the original question? I don't know if you did, Teresa, but I'll read your statement here because I think it makes us. Let's see. Yes, why don't we ship fish? I can answer that in a little bit. And then, where'd that go? I just saw it. Oh man, it's scrolling too far here. Let's see. Teresa says, yours was accurate. The store's was not. And since I was At their store, I was unable to buy fish. I told them I bought it from Corey. They refused to sell. And then it says, why can... There might be some more. I think it's, why can't we sell fish online? Yeah, I'll answer that. 10 gifted memberships from Jeff Kane coming in with the clutch. With the clutch. Let me match those. I'll answer that question. So we don't ship fish online because it would take all of our focus to potentially, wow, that's sad. Aquacop passed away. I think I remember that now. I just didn't put two and two together in my mind. Like, dang it. That's a bum deal. What were we just talking about? We were talking about, why we don't sell fish. It would be my sole focus to try and do it correctly, and it's incredibly difficult. And I think there's a high likelihood that you make customers unhappy. And what I mean by that is you can ship a fish and it can be healthy, but someone's tank might not be in the best of shape, or might be adverse conditions, or they get stressed out by the fish, and you become the bad guy. And we don't want to be the bad guy. We want to be the good guy. We want to try and help you. And so I think John, Katie Tropicals, and Lisa, they tried to do it as well. And they've tried to do it a couple of times, and I've tried to do it a couple of times. And really what it comes down to is the juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's an incredible, a lot amount of work to take care of livestock and get it safely to another person. It's a lot of work. And in general, shipping keeps going up, and people don't want to pay lots of money for their fish. And there's lots of competitors, but they don't always stay around. And so, what am I seeing there? Oh, it's that leaf. You see that bright leaf? I was like, that better not be a dead fish. Just the way it laid down, it got shiny instead of being bright red and the tiger lotus. Anyway, so I think it's a hard way to make a living that you can't take a vacation from, you can't leave town from, because you got all these animals, you got to ship them, and there's all these holidays you got to work around, and there's all these problems you run into. And yeah, Dan ships amazingly well, but his stuff is expensive. He'll let you know that. I'll let you know that. He does a good job though, and it is a luxury to get animals delivered to your house. I bought a $150 pair of swordtails from him like 3 weeks ago or whatever, and they're amazing. I like them. But it is a luxury. And I think that people don't always understand that. They go like, well, I can get these from my local store for $6. Like, they can go buy them from the local store. Well, those ones, my local store is 2 hours away, and they only had males. And it's like, well, yeah, then you'll have to pay that price, because that's the price they want to do it. And I was going to do a whole like response video to John's thing, but basically what it boils down to is fish cost a price. The price goes up based on what it takes to get it done and your opportunities at the time. And so if you could go do a live stream and make $100, or you could pack fish all day and make $100, you're probably going to live stream. And then, you don't have to take pictures of the fish, and that's 2 days of work to make the same $100. Like, oh darn. And then like when you live stream, you don't have people going, hey, the live stream arrived dead, I want my money back. That doesn't exist. So you've got these opportunities, and eventually it just won't make a whole lot of sense. It makes plenty of sense at our retail store. We do it all day long. We sell tons of fish. We love it. It's enjoyable. But the shipping part, basically, what I don't like about shipping anything, but especially live goods, no matter how good we are as a company, we then have to pass it off to somebody. So what a lot of people in the chat might have experienced, no matter how good of a restaurant you order from, once it goes into Uber Eats' hands or DoorDash's hands, they have no control how clean the car is, if someone's smoking, how long it's going to take to get there, whether it'll ever get there. And so even though these companies are doing it, they get worse reputations for it, because if you buy $150 worth of food and it never shows up and you're pissed at Uber Eats, and they won't refund you for some reason, and you tell the store or the restaurant and they won't refund you, you're like, well, we're not getting a refund. Now you hate that restaurant. The reality is they did nothing wrong. On their end, they've done nothing wrong. They prepared the food. It was ready to go. It got picked up. They fulfilled all of their obligations. That's kind of what happens with shipping fish. You fulfill all your obligations, then another company takes it and is going to ship it. And if they do something wrong, you are on the hook for it. And so you're only as good as the weakest link. And the more people in the links or more in the chain, the worse it's going to get. And it's real difficult. It really needs to go sideways when you're shipping aquariums and fish and these 6-foot lights and other stuff. So yeah, it's you know, could we make some money? We could. Could it also tank our reputation? It could. And would it take a lot of focus? It would. And so we just do it locally. We also want, I want to see local stores survive. So I want people to go to a local store and fall in love with a fish, and not based on how good of a picture you took, but fall in love with the fish in person. And so I think that's a balance we're trying to strike. And yeah, that's where I'm at with that. All right. It has been 2 hours and 15 minutes. This is my second live stream today, so I've live streamed for 4 hours and 15 minutes, and then there's always time before and after the live stream when you do a live stream with someone else. So I've been at it for like 5 hours. I gotta pee, and I've also, like, my wife reminded me, recycling's got to go out and trash has got to go out, and my wife, being that she's recovering from surgery, needs help with stuff. And so, like, now's my time. Like, the dogs, Wincy, no doubt, will be doing her little dance for dinner. Since my wife's not supposed to bend down and put stuff onto the floor, I need to go deliver dinner to the dogs. Then I got to take out trash and recycling and do some other things. So, yeah, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Hopefully I wasn't too much of a salesman today. Hopefully you learned a lot. And I want to try to work this into my thing. So if I forget to do it, tell me to do it. Tell me to do it. Because I filmed all the videos that are coming out this month, and I didn't do it once because I'm bad at my job. But I heard it on another YouTuber, not a fish YouTuber, but I really liked the sentiment, and I think this is what YouTube should be about. All right, here's a statement. If you learned something, leave a like. I love the fact that it's at the end of a video. You've watched it all. You might actually like it. You hit the like button on the way out if you've learned something. So if you liked it, like it. If you learned something, leave a like. If you hated it, don't do it. I'm not gonna beg you to do it, but I think that's a good mantra. If you learned something, leave a like. I like that. Like, yeah, if I provided you that value, leave a like on your way out. Signal to YouTube you might want to see us again sometime. Signal to YouTube that maybe someone else should see what we do. And I like that. So if you learned something, leave a like. I'm out. I'll see you next week. Buy all of our stuff. We will be shipping like mad men and women all week long because it's go time. We are now officially in aquarium season. Aquarium season, for those that don't know, starts the day after Christmas. Everyone's spending them gift cards. Not a lot of holidays get in the way. It is go time. The season's booming. We're going big. We're keeping lots of stuff going, and yeah, basically till June. Now's the go time. We are in the season. Season's on. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you around. Bye-bye. Let me find the right buttons and go feed my doggies.